everyone, this is Adriana, and we are joined here again with my grandmother, Caitlin, here for Heart to Heart Astrology Podcast. And this is episode 3 now. I really loved our second episode, so I'm really excited to dive back in. We have a ton of astrology going on for the rest of this month in April, if you can believe it. We just, went through a solar eclipse. Lynn, do you want to go ahead and let them know what you will be sharing? And then I'll let them know what I'll be sharing today.
Well, I'm going to be talking about several alignments that are really important this month. We'll save the best for last, and it's Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and that's on April 20th. We will devote a good portion of our video today to talk about that towards the end. But it is hugely important. Everybody's feeling it already. So we've got the eclipse going on the 15th. I'm going to talk about Mercury and Chiron and that aspecting and what's going on there, how the retrograde affects that. So between all of this, we've got just a lot of eclipsing going on. Period. It's everywhere.
Yeah, so make sure you stick around till the end where we are talking about that huge conjunction there with Jupiter and Uranus. We're going to just kind of discuss how we're feeling post solar eclipse on top of Mercury retrograde. Before even starting this video, we were already dealing with typical Mercury retrograde things. So I will be discussing the Scorpio full moon that's coming up the middle of the month here, well, more towards the end. It's the 23rd, and how that will be affecting you. And then Taurus is going to be landing in beautiful Venus. They're a great pairing. Taurus is right at home in Venus. So we got kind of some romance happening at the end of the month. And this is also going to be affecting money. So that is what I will share.
So let's talk about the eclipse, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, how's everyone feeling after this solar eclipse?
Yeah. Well, we were blessed to be in the totality, and we had just the most amazing experience. What was so amazing was when we were in totality, how the birds went quiet, just like they do at dusk. And there was a much more coolness, almost at the point of feeling cold. And it was windy, not just a slight wind. And it just brought home how important the sun is. We honor the sun every morning. We really love the sun's energy. And I believe that the sun loves the attention. I really do. I know it sounds crazy. We give a lot of gratitude to the sun, and so many times the sun out when we're in our meditative time and when we're honoring the sun. We've seen it happen so many times, that it happened on the day of the solar eclipse.
Yeah, it looks so bright.
Many places in Ohio were cloudy, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, that was from our group. Yes.
Yeah, it obviously I wasn't there because I'm in the UK and it was super cloudy, so we didn't even see a partial anything. But it was okay. I was there in spirit. I was watching it actually. Luckily I could watch it live streamed, and it was so nice to see, like, everyone it was this really uplifting energy, actually. It just had this really emotional, I think spiritual impact for a lot of people. There was people, getting emotional, because it just, like how we spoke in our last podcast, it just really brings it all in. Like, we are these tiny humans living in this amazing world here.
The moon, which is our feelings, our intuition, our divine feminine energies, blocked the sun, blocked the light, kind of, I don't like to use the word, but kind of forcing people to deal with feelings. So these feelings came up to the surface, but we've kept in the shadow. Some fears coming up. Yes.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. And if you guys have any questions, please, by all means, feel free to leave us a comment down below, or even if you just want to share some feedback. how were you feeling, or how are you feeling after this eclipse, or any of these things that we're going to be talking about? Don't hesitate to, leave a question or comment below. We really appreciate it. And if you could like this video also. And feel free to, as we said last time, grab a cup of tea or
Yes.
coffee. Tea in our
I got my
case today.
Earl Grey again, yes.
Yeah, and join us, yeah, with this video. Just relax and listen in.
So I wanted to start off with talking a little bit about the planets and their personalities. The Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, these are all called the personal planets. And it's the Sun, I mentioned a little earlier, but the Sun is really connected to the way we shine and express. So what your sun sign is in will kind of determine the way that you shine. So it is all about how we shine and express. That's what the sun does. The moon is about intuiting and feeling. Okay, so I mentioned that before. Um, it's how deep are we willing to go and get in touch with our inner self and our emotional self and our feelings. And then Mercury is all about thinking and communicating, and Mercury is connected to actually to Gemini. And then our Venus is our needs and desires, and Mars is how we create and act. So I thought this might be helpful. We could put some of this in our video notes so people have this. Just a fun way I teach in my astrology basics workshop how to understand how the planets and their personalities work. So when we have what I call a cosmic party, this is when very spiritually natured outer planets. Now, these are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and they're referred to as the transpersonal planets. Um, when a party happens, they're going to interact with some of, like, say, the social planets, like Jupiter, who's very reward oriented, or hyper responsible Saturn. Okay, they will have an interaction with one another. So when this happens, change is on the horizon. And there's a cosmic joke in the astrological circles shared about the outer planets. So would you like to hear the outer planets laugh? Just tell them your plans. Plans go awry all the time. So we cannot guarantee that when we start getting into these deeper connections that we're going to be, uh, you know, staying at that social or the more ego level of the personal planets. When we go deep, we go deep. And so that's kind of what's happening this month. Um, Spiritual growth, development, and evolution are the key ingredients that are brought in by these outer planets. And that means our most vulnerable patterns. And this is individually and collectively. And then we've also have what I call the soul brother to the outer planets, and this is the asteroid Chiron. And Chiron is known as the wounded healer and teacher. This Chiron placement and alignment for everyone is all about us healing soul wounds. And the deeper, the better for Chiron. Chiron wants us to go as deep as we can go. I have on this cute little shirt, and it's my mermaid shirt. I like showing my little shirt. And it says
I love it.
going beyond the surface. So we're definitely going deep in the mermaid energy. Some of these wound lessons that could come up. Well, we may learn about surrender in our life, surrendering a lot of our ego desires um, due to what we need to learn. We may experience betrayal. We may experience abandonment on some level. Could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, material, on any level. But these patterns, what's wonderful about doing this work, if you get into working with the outer planets in Chiron, this is a path leading towards self-realization. Now that's a capital S when I say self, not the little self. We're talking self-realization on that level of ultimately merging with source. Let me talk a little bit about an upcoming alignment with Mercury and Chiron. It's going to be on the the 15th of April. And it's going to be while Mercury's in retrograde, which is going to stay in retrograde until April 25th. So Mercury in Aries is going to conjunct with Chiron in Aries. Okay. And when this type of thing happens, it usually, in this case, it's happening actually 3 times. We already had it happen March 20th. And you could look back at your calendar and go, what happened on March 20th? You could kind of look at that. We were at 19 degrees of Aries. Now it's coming up in a few days on April 15th. And it actually goes back to what's called 18 degrees. So that shows the retrograde motion of going backward and the slowing down process. And then the final one's going to be on May 7th at 21 degrees in Aries. And that is this showing the direct motion forward after April 25th when Mercury goes direct. So there are 3 different ways that we could be experiencing our wounds right now. Right now with this one, we're right in the middle. We're sandwiched in the middle. It's a time for looking really deep and reviewing your choices, especially in career areas and relationships and partnerships. This conjunction will help you to ask certain important questions in your life. It could bring up things like, why am I staying in a career job or relationship partnership that doesn't fulfill me? Am I afraid to move out of my comfort zone? Do I lack confidence in myself and my abilities to thrive? These can feel like pretty painful questions. They are. But I want you to think about what we just spoke of earlier with the eclipse we just had, and what feelings came up in that moment. What were some of the tears about? I spoke about how the moon was covering in that moment the sun's light, but then when the light came back, are we able to then start reframing and maybe even rewriting our story? So it's a very powerful moment when you realize you can become your own script editor. And we can make new choices for the highest good for the entire situation. So again, we could even come back to some of those questions towards the end of the video, but these are deep, deep thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, especially, with it being during Mercury retrograde,
Mhm.
I'd say too, be careful of miscommunications, even more
Mhm.
so with that Chiron
Oh,
element there. Yeah, because when things start to surface, you might be more prone to miscommunicate what you actually want to say. So it might be a good time, in my opinion, maybe to gather your thoughts and do that introspection as you were talking about, and then
yes.
maybe come back to it at the end of the
Yeah.
month,
Yeah.
or even into May.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, our wounds will just talk. We'll talk with
Yes.
another, or we'll make a decision from our wounding
Yeah.
instead of making a decision that's highest good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not making a reaction. So I am going to be talking now about the Scorpio full moon, which is happening the 23rd of April. It's going to be happening in 4 degrees. So you can check your chart. So go to astroseek.com. You can check your chart for free. And if you put in your birth details, if you want more of a specific reading on how these things that we're going to be talking about today are going to be affecting you, you could always reach out to either myself or Caitlin here, so we can get you more of a personalized reading on that. But you can check and see where is 4 degrees in your chart, or if it's something near 4 degrees, like maybe 2 to 3 degrees, below or after that. So yeah, this Scorpio full moon, again, very deep things going on here. We have things resurfacing, and a lot of that too could be during that or coming from that Chiron conjunction you were just talking about as well. So more things coming to surface. I think of the moon card in the tarot deck. I don't have it with me to show you guys, but the moon card in the tarot deck is about things resurfacing, and it is a very scorpionic energy, a very much a water element energy, and that's an indication of things that need to be addressed. So what things are we not addressing here? The full moon is going to illuminate that. It's going to make it really clear. It's going to highlight those inner things that we still need to work on within ourselves. Here it is, Scorpio full moon. I did make note, I would say on a collective level, generally speaking, be careful. This was kind of my intuition, kind of coming in. Be careful of some kind of venomous energy. When you think of the scorpion, they have venom in them, right? So be careful of that venomous type energy from maybe people who may be projecting their problems out onto you. That can definitely happen. And be careful yourselves with, especially since this is happening during Mercury retrograde, be careful with yourselves as to not speak with venom in your words. You want to, again, communicate in a healthy way. And that's why I do think maybe if there's any big things that need to be discussed with another person or a partner, it's best to wait till maybe the end of the month or into May when Mercury retrograde is done here. But on the positive side with this, it is a great time for you to address things that maybe you've been suppressing. And it's time to now focus on those things because you really need to take care of yourselves. And that also is going to come into play with this Venus being in Taurus, which I'll talk about soon too. This can be a very romantic and I even would say sensual time for some partners out there. You could be really feeling that kind of, that kind of sensual energy. Right across is the sun in Taurus here. And there's a challenge here of needs needing to be met here. So is there a certain area in your emotional needs here that isn't being met? Perhaps it could have to do with maybe work, and because it is in the 10th house here, it will shift out of that too throughout, the day, but it could have to do with, are you focused more on work and projects, outside external things? Maybe you need to focus more on internal things, maybe your family, your home, your relationships. So that is kind of challenging that. Where do you need your needs met here? Are they being met in the way that you need them to? Are you suppressing anything that desperately needs attention? So this full moon is really going to illuminate those things. Anything that you have been kind of burying under the surface, if there has been anything like that, it's really going to shed a light on this. And there is a connection to money with not only this full moon, but with Taurus in Venus. So I would say, I think I talked about this last time with another aspect, but I think it still applies again. Just be careful with your spendings and things. I would just be a little extra cautious of that here. There we have Taurus is in Venus. So Taurus's ruling planet is Venus. So this is a perfect match here. So right at home, things should be feeling really great here. This is happening, by the way, the 29th of April, and it will last until the 23rd of May. So yeah, this is going to be really nice for partners, and just love is in the air. I feel like, yeah, seeking pleasure here, because Taurus is all about pleasure, enjoying the 3D things, the material things, the earthly things, food, sweets, romance, even beauty. You might, want to maybe get your hair done or, anything like that. Again, though, be careful about overindulgence with this aspect. Don't go too overboard, especially too because Venus also has to do with money. And as I was saying too, with the full moon in Scorpio, Scorpio is a sign too that is kind of related to money, I would say, as the ruling planet would be Pluto. But yeah, going back to this though, great for romance. Love is in the air. Even, yeah, for singles, there's going to be more boosted connections here, especially for those of you in relationships and marriages. Really looks like a nice time for that. Maybe a romantic dinner. Intuitively, I was getting with this. Those of you who are trying to get pregnant, this is a very fertile time. You're more potent right now, so some spring fever happening. So if you are trying not to, maybe be a little extra careful. But if you are, I feel like spring fever is here. So moon is also going to be in Capricorn here. Nice stable Capricorn. So it's moved out of Scorpio. And now at this point, by the end of the month here, it goes into nice earthly Capricorn to really ground this energy. So yeah, it's really giving a sense of stability in relationships here, or it will highlight if there is any instability that you may be feeling. So if you are in some sort of, if you're dating somebody or if you're in a relationship with someone and there is instability, that's going to be highlighted here with this aspect. I would just wrap this up by saying with both the full moon and Scorpio from the week previous to this, and then going into this Venus and Taurus here, some questions here of how do you love yourself? How do you give yourself some self-love? So this is going to be a perfect time for you to, have a bath and take some extra self-care and really love up on yourself. Do things that you enjoy. How do you honor yourself? How do you show up for yourself and not only love yourself, but respect yourself? How do you show up in your relationship as well, for those of you who are in relationships? But I think most importantly, the first thing you'll have to look at is how are you showing up for yourself here?
Okay, we finally get to the star of the show, and it's Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And it truly is. It's on April 20th. It's going to be one of the most exciting conjunctions of the year, and maybe even beyond this year. It happens at 10:27 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2:27 a.m. GMT on April 21st. But most people are feeling this conjunction already because we started feeling the effects of it in March. In fact, all of these things that have been going on started in March, especially since the lunar eclipse was at the end of March too. But the whole astrological community is all a buzz about this, because Jupiter, the social planet, is expansion oriented, and then it's going to conjunct and merge with the freedom-loving outer planet Uranus. So that's huge. So that's a whole lot of loving going on.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the social planet Jupiter, what it feels like first. So it is a planet of expansion, growth, magnification, opportunity, optimism, vision, and loves to connect the dots to see the whole big picture. And Uranus is considered the awakener, and it's the planet of change, freedom, quantum leaps, revolution, evolution, and loves to go beyond the conventional and explore what is new, unique, and different. So what do these two planets' personalities have in common? Well, first off, the fact that they are both in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus loves to place value on what it experiences. And Jupiter and Uranus both desire progress. So valuing our progress. How are we moving forward? And are we valuing our move forward? Is kind of how I would interpret that. That happens at that 10:27 p.m. My time, Eastern Daylight. Could be like a lightning bolt striking and setting fire to what is antiquated, stifling, things that slow progress, ultimately releasing what's not for the highest good of all, exclamation point, all with a capital A. I've received, like this vision came to me actually when I was writing this article, um, of a red caped, like a red cape, excuse me, draped, and it's there to tantalize the Taurus bull into a sudden charge forward, like a full steam of head, type of energy. And so many people kind of are going with like, well, we're going to go in so much to technologies and a cashless society and fearing a loss of humanitarianism. And I feel that's a very, to be honest, left brain view. And being a very right brain person, I feel very differently about it. My guidance coming in is more that Taurus, first off, is ruled by Venus. And Venus is the planet of love, and may say that this lifeless, heartless machinery is not true progress. So think about that. If you saw the movies Matrix, many have seen it many years ago. Well, my husband, who happens to be a Taurus sun sign, he decided to start watching them again. And we watched the last one. And I don't want to totally ruin it for everybody, but most people have seen it. But in essence, that was the message at the end of the movie, exactly what I just said. So that's something to think about. Maybe even rewatch that all three movies, but that last one is exactly that.
I'll have to
Um,
rewatch it.
so
I've only watched, I think, the
yes. Yeah.
first two. I don't think I've seen the third one actually.
Oh
I'll have
my
to
goodness.
watch.
Well, I don't want to
Yeah.
totally
Oh, it's okay.
just know
I get the
that
gist of
statement,
it.
I'll
Yeah.
say it again, that yeah, that lifeless, heartless machinery is not true progress. So what if the fact that Jupiter and Uranus being in the sign of earthy Taurus brings our attention individually and collectively back to the ancient earth wisdom teachings? Can we manifest the ability to see new possibilities, new frontiers in a completely new way by tapping into more of our spiritual nature and understanding how our earthly biological nature is truly linked to expanding our awareness through spiritual sciences of the merging of mind-heart coherence and matter, for example. So what would that be? What's an example? Would be telepathy, cellular memory, and ultimately unity consciousness. Another movie comes to mind, Avatar, unity consciousness that was shown in Avatar.
Yeah, one of my
Why can't we
favorites.
have that? Why not?
Mm.
Why do we have to limit ourselves to thinking it has to be machinery, that it has to be this computer box that we're using right now that has been, it's our first chakra completely shot outside of ourselves. And we live our lives in these boxes now. I grew up in a time where we were outside playing and in the trees, and I had a tree house. I loved it. It's why not go back to some of those earthly connected type energies, but then take that technology and bring it in somehow to that. I think of Frank Lloyd Wright and the beautiful homes that he built with nature coming right through it. I mean, I see that type of stuff in the future. That we live so connected to nature in a way that we don't now. We really don't. Everything is, we have things are, dead. It's like I would love to see life all around us, a biological based universe that's technologically advanced.
As somebody
Yeah.
who does love nature too, it's like I would love to see how that can work
Well, we
and
have
not
that
be stuck.
technology. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
have that technology right now. I was waiting for years for a
Solar technology.
biological, yeah, but I wanted a biological implant for my hip replacement. I know it's there. It's just not available yet,
Hmm.
but the technology's there. But as long as the people who run the machinery end of it and robotics end of it and their metal implants and all this stuff, this blocks us from really moving forward. So maybe this Jupiter conjunct Uranus is to explode this stuff out of the way. That would be awesome. So we could have true movement forward. Okay. I ask a lot of questions myself of my teachers. When I was in school, I was always the one that would ask the question that everybody was afraid to ask. And then the teacher would always compliment me afterwards, like, you're brave to ask that question. Well, hey, I want to learn. Adri mentioned back at the beginning about checking to see if you have a natal aspect to Jupiter and Taurus. So the conjunction, if you have that, and I happen to have a client that does have that and excited to talk with him about it Sunday. It's very, very auspicious, very wonderful connection to be going through that right now. So I personally have a sextile with Jupiter and Uranus. So this will be very powerful in my life as well.
If you have something 21 degrees or near 21 degrees too, and that can kind of give you an idea of where it'll be impacting you as well.
And you or I could help people find that. We could do,
Yes.
little short reports for people.
Mhm.
But here's what this could bring. So what does this mean? I'm yakking about it. This could bring more of an optimistic outlook in your life, more fervent faith, and a deeper spiritual connection to what's for the highest good. There's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty powerful. That's life-changing energies. So here's the questions. So especially for conjunctions, a person that has a conjunction will usually have a very independent streak, maybe even be considered a trailblazer. The person I like this kind of idea of landing on your feet like a cat. So no matter how high you jump, you land on your feet, because this person is a risk taker, not afraid to try something different. Also, the person that has this would have the ability to think about the big picture instead of being the little mouse, just like zero it in on the little crumbs of the details. Be more like the eagle flying up and over and seeing everything, the whole picture idea. Also, I feel people that have this conjunction or some of the other aspects as well could feel very drawn to metaphysical and mystical things. But this is my favorite one that actually my guides gave me this one. Can you go down in a mud puddle and then rise up like a beautiful lotus with a strong root in the earth? And I feel that really describes what we're going to be going through and what we are going through. So I'll say it again. Can you go down in a mud puddle, then rise up like a beautiful lotus with a strong root in the earth?
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I don't mean to make a joke of it, but I definitely was in a lot of mud puddles the past couple of days when I was out dog walking. So, and then the sun came out yesterday and today, thankfully. So I definitely felt like that after going through all that rain that we got here in the UK. But yes, on a spiritual level, though, yes, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Marching to your own drum kind of idea too. Ability to rewrite the rules is also a very entrepreneurship type of energy. You and I are both blessed with that, with our Capricorns and Cancer rising, Capricorn suns. We have that ability too.
Yeah, it looks really good for us Capricorns and Virgos too. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I got a Virgo moon, so I've got it all going. So I've explained the conjunct pretty well, but the sextile that like I have, um, people that have this, and I just was able to just write about myself because this is me. I see a spiritual connection to absolutely every experience. I can't unsee it. Everything is meaningful to me. Everything. This moment sharing with you has so many levels of meaning, and sharing with others that will watch this. So that is just my day-to-day life, moment-to-moment life. I feel even in crisis times, I always somehow look for, well, what can I learn from this? How can we grow? How can we expand? That's very much Jupiter sextile Uranus. Um, Ability to blast through obstacles, just not allowing them to be there. That's it. It's like, you know, prayer, faith, those are obstacle busters right there, surrendering to a higher power. If it has a square, you still could have great confidence, but watch to take care about not overestimating that, not being a little bit too cocky, so to speak, of thinking your abilities are, you know, more important than, say, having a stable relationship. So a lot of people could during this time, and we talked about this earlier, just with all the other things going on, be careful to not make major decisions right now when you could have your wounds right up to the surface. And so that square is a challenge. So Jupiter square Uranus would mean that person's going to have to be careful of their decisions. And to doesn't mean you can't make a decision, but to be in care of it, to really look at it. Same thing with an opposition, very similar energy. And watching to not alienate others. We could push others away. And these could be people who could be powerful allies in our lives. So keeping that in mind. And then the final aspect is a trine, which is very similar to a sextile. It's ability to attract lucky breaks, attracting wealth and abundance, kind of that making sweet lemonade out of sour lemons kind of energy. That's how I would describe it. So that's just kind of taking everybody through their aspects. So if you can find out and go online, find out if you have any of these aspects between Jupiter and Uranus, or if you, like I said, want Adri or myself to help you with that.
I picked up on something there with maybe some, yeah, unusual things, things that are kind of out of the ordinary, maybe even paranormal
Mhm.
things showing up during
Yeah,
this time, or more during this time than
yeah.
normal. So yeah, you
That's just
might
because
see
that's
that.
because of the eclipse. That's the eclipse, honey. That's what's causing that too. The eclipse energies,
Yeah, I mean,
this Jupiter conjunct Uranus is similar
yeah,
to eclipse energies. So we got it
yeah,
like many eclipses going on at once. I just
yeah.
wanted to put
I,
that in
yeah, I
there.
mean, I feel it from the Uranus aspect to that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a time where, like you mentioned, I believe with the trine aspect, um, I think a lot of people are going to be experiencing some growth in their businesses, and bringing new ideas to life in a
yeah,
practical way with that Taurus energy. It's all about practicality. How can I practically make this happen? How can I practically um, get this goal achieved? You know, it's setting those little steps. So maybe you're even setting goals to make that happen. So I do see a lot of, business and financial growth here with things like that. Um, and I also just, I feel like,
especially if they have it in the 10th house. Yeah. So I feel the house is super important for people to look at their natal
yes,
house.
yes,
Um,
definitely. Again, kind of like I was saying with that Taurus and Venus, be mindful of overindulgence, spendings, and things like that. Just be a little bit more mindful about that. Um, but yeah, I was going to say too, especially it's kind of funny with this springtime energy. If you've had ideas that you've been trying to get going, you've been working on, and you've planted that seed, now you're
yeah.
suddenly going to see this explosion. This garden is just going to
Yes.
bloom, so to speak, suddenly
Yeah.
flourishing out of nowhere. So, where you have been basically watering your garden, to go with that spring
Mhm.
analogy, I really feel like that is just gonna blast off during this time. So wherever you guys have
Yeah.
been really putting your focus on,
Once,
you're gonna get the
once we're out
rewards from it. Yeah.
Once we're out of Mercury retrograde, though,
Yes.
because
After.
we
Yes.
still will be in the shadow period until May 13th.
Yeah.
So I say, you know, you can kind of hang in there. post shadow ends, then what we've been working on and fertilizing and watering, as you said, I love that analogy. It will start really seeding and sprouting and blooming and blossoming.
I put manifestations, blessings coming in, but with that being said, work will still need to be done, but progress will be paid off. And I feel like it's going to be paid off a lot sooner or more rapidly. So yeah, expect some good things. Yeah. What's the expression? April showers bring May flowers. So there you go. To add to, this type of conjunction only really happens every 14 years. And the last time it was in 2011. So if you want to think about what was going on in 2011, and do you see the progress you've made now from 2011 to now? So something else to think about with that.
We had that November 11th, 2011. The harmonic convergence was very powerful. We did a Reiki seminar on that day. It was amazingly powerful. It was incredible, in fact. And the amount of orbs that showed up in our pictures, I have whole album of I call them angel light beings from that day. Pictures that are mind-blowing.
I think a lot of us spiritual awakenings were happening. I was only a teenager, right? Yeah, I was only a teenager during that time. So I know I was starting to have more spiritual awakenings, like little things happening during that time. So I don't have a tarot card to share this time, but I will for next time, definitely.
So I'm going to share this Gaia Oracle deck that I love. You can see that.
Beautiful.
It is done by Tony Carmine Salerno, and they are guidance, affirmations, and transformation oracle cards. And I picked this card, and you can see that.
Beautiful.
It says purification through fire, pure essentials, the naked truth and wholeness. So that's our card for everybody. Summarize the main points, which is that to honor what your heart truly desires and to realize it's important to notice what's missing in your life. Are we ignoring things that are trying to give us messages about that? Are we finding obstacles on our journey and it's blocking our heart and our true desires? Is there even a reluctance to really look at yourself and your fears? Some of this may have come up during the solar eclipse for a lot of people. And again, it takes great courage to face what is needed to really happen at some point. And so it may be a necessity of leaving a long-term relationship or career or job, those types of things. It may ultimately take you to that place. Or it could, on the opposite, the flip side, it could take you to a total rewrite, a total refresh, especially during that romantic time that you spoke of at the end of April and into May. That could come about too. So I would love to just take us in a real short little guided imagery and to just kind of bring together what we've shared. So if everybody wants to close their eyes and just visualize a beautiful flame right in the center of your heart. And this soul flame is here to help guide you and to bring honor to your experiences and to help you see through your heart's eyes, so to speak, what is for the highest good. Allow that flame to burn bright. And if you see yourself in areas of your life where it is like a mud puddle we spoke of earlier, can you see a beautiful lotus begin to bloom in that mud puddle? Can you see its petals unfolding, bringing the possibilities of honoring your heart's desires? A lotus moves through incredible obstacles to bloom and be beautiful, and keeps this incredible strong root deep in the earth. So seeing your own heart flame energy aligning with that beautiful lotus root. And so it is.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you soon in our next video.